So it's been, I think, a little over 3 months since Breonna Taylor was murdered by three Louisville police officers in a no-knock warrant while she was sleeping. And subsequently, I believe the Louisville City Council has outlawed those no-knock warrants, yet these three cops are still, no charges have been brought against them for killing unarmed Breonna Taylor in her own home, shooting her 8 times. And again, if whoever had killed him hadn't been police officers, you can almost guarantee they would have been charged with, murder at this point. But because it's cops that did it, cops that broke into the wrong home without warrant and killed unarmed Breonna Taylor, who was also, a frontline healthcare worker. I believe she was a EMT or worked in the healthcare industry in some type of capacity. They broke in her home, no knock warrant, murdered her, shot her 8 times, and they're still walking around. She's dead. It's fucked up. And then so the Louisville Police Department released their incident report of this a couple of days ago, and this is from the Courier Journal, local Kentucky paper. It's almost blank. The 4-page report lists the time, date, case number, incident location, and the victim's name, Breonna Shaquille Taylor, as well as the fact that she's a 26-year-old black female, but it redacts her street number, apartment number, and date of birth, all which have been widely reported. And get this, it lists her injuries as none, even though she was shot at least 8 times and died on her hallway floor in a pool of blood, according to attorneys for her family. It lists the charges as death investigation, LMPD involved, but checks the no box under forced entry, even though officers used a battering ram to knock in Taylor's apartment door. It's so fucked up. It also lists under the offenders, here's the people who should have been charged by now with murder. 3 officers who fired the shots in her apartment, fatally shooting her: Sergeant John Mattingly, 47, Miles Cosgrove, 42, and Brett Hankison, 44. Let's see. Mattingly. Do we want to see what Mattingly says? I mean, not really, because it's just going to be a bunch of bullshit trying to justify this cold-blooded murder of Breonna Taylor. Let's see how you try to explain that away, Brett. Or Jonathan, I should say. Oh.
Zurcher will pair you with a highly...
Don't need to see that stuff.
First thing she said was, "Who is it?" No response. So we're like, what the heck?
I believe that was her boyfriend or partner.
Maybe just in your bed. Watch a movie. So in your room, watching both of the rooms. She had actually just dozed off probably like 10 minutes before. So I'm there laying on her, watching the movie by myself. There was a loud bang at the door. Both of us are not decent. Can't even think of the word right now. We're at home. We're to bed. It's 12 at night. Our day's over. So there's a loud bang at the door. She pops up out of sleep and scared her to death. Me too.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Who was that? I was honestly thinking it was because we've been on and off together or whatever for like 7 years or whatever. So it's a guy that she was messing with or whatever throughout that time, And they popped up over there once before while I was there like a couple months ago. So that's what I thought was going on. So it's loud at the door. First thing she said was, "Who is it?" No response. So we like, what the heck? We both get up, start putting on clothes. Another knock at the door. She's like, who is it? Loud at the top of her lungs. No response. So I'm like, what the heck? So then I grab my gun, which is legal, like I'm licensed to carry everything. I've never even fired my gun outside of a range. I'm scared to death. So she says that there's another knock at the door. She's yelling at the top of her lungs, and I am too at this point. Who is it? No answer, no response, no anything. So we like, what the heck? We both just see what I have on. Grab the nearest thing. These aren't even mine. These are hers. Like, so we both are just putting on something to go answer the door and see who's knocking at the door. It's late at night. So when we come out, when we get
Again, this was around 12:40 in the morning when police knocked down the door and murdered Breonna Taylor, shooting her at least 8 times. And it sounds like from her partner's statement, Kenneth Walker, as well as neighbors, the police didn't announce themselves at all. And again, it wasn't even the right fucking apartment. It's like, how are those cops not been charged at this point? It's fucking ridiculous. It's travesty of justice, another one. You wonder why people are pissed off and in the streets because of how black people, communities of color, other marginalized groups have been systemically brutalized, oppressed, and murdered by the U.S. police state since police have been founded in this country, unfortunately.
the bed or whatever, like walking towards the door, the door comes off the hinges. So I just let off one shot. Like I still can't see who it is or anything. So now the door's flying open. I have one shot, and then all of a sudden there's a whole lot of shots, and we both just dropped to the ground, and the gun fell right over there, and I kicked it because I'm scared to death. Now we're seeing lights and stuff. So it's looking okay, it's the police, and there's a lot of yelling and stuff. So there's just shooting, we're both on the ground, and then when all the shots stop, I'm panicking. She's right there on the ground, bleeding, and yeah.
And can't even imagine how he's feeling.
So was there any lights on in the living room?
I mean, just think about that for a second. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. You think somebody's breaking in to your house, and then they end up murdering your partner. And yet, those people are free while your partner was killed, and there's been no justice for them. It's sickening.
The hallway, was everything off because you guys had gone to bed?
Everything was off except the light where we were. Mm-hmm. And actually, that light was off at that point. We were done. The movie was watching us more than we were watching it. Mm-hmm. And when it's a long hallway, as you can see, so all you can hear is a knock at the door. Even if somebody was saying something on the other side, you probably couldn't hear them. Mm-hmm. But as loud as we were screaming to say who it is, I know whoever would be on the other side of the door could hear us. Mm-hmm. So that's it. Next thing I know, she's on the ground and the door's busted open, and I hear a bunch of yelling, and I'm just panicking, and I'm telling somebody, I'm yelling help, because she's right here bleeding, and nobody's coming, and I'm just confused and scared, and I feel the same right now. I called my mom, and I told her that somebody just kicked in the door and shot me. So at that point, when I called my mom, I still didn't know it was the police. So I told her on the phone, somebody kicked the door. So I hung up. My mom's like, call 911 right now. Call 911 right now. So I called 911. I told them what happened. I'm still not knowing this.
People are supposed to protect and serve. Breonna Taylor and her partner, Kenneth Walker, were the ones who ended up murdering Breonna Taylor. The police.
Then I called Brianna's mom, I hung up on 911. I told her my name and I told her what happened and I told her where I was at. Then I hung up on her. I was like, I gotta go. So I called her mom. I called Brianna's mom and then I told her what just happened. And when I was on the phone with her, that's when I kind of realized that it was the police because now they're yelling like, come.
Man, and help me to kind of understand something, right? So I know you originally told like the officers or whatever, like she shot the gun.
Yeah, I didn't mean to. I was just scared. Like I didn't want them to think that I was like on something where that's like when I first came out and stuff. I had no reason to say. 'Cause like I said, my gun's legal and everything. Like clearly, I was scared. Like I don't know. Like nobody announced herself or anything. Like clearly, like I said, me and her have no dealings with the police or whatever. So if I would have heard at the door, oh, it's the police, it changes the whole situation. Like there's nothing for us to be scared of. Like we were literally on the way to open the door. We could have opened the door and say, hey, like what's the problem? What's going on? You know, even if we were to, I would get detained or whatever for a second, I can talk to you like I haven't done anything and I know you have no reason to be looking for me. So there's no reason why I would be hostile at all. The only reason I even had the gun out because we didn't know who it was. So if we knew who it was, then that would have never happened.
Right.
All right. Frankly, I just don't care what that sergeant has to say. But what's most important? The most important portion of the report, the narrative of events that spells out what happened on March 15th, has two words: PIU investigation. And the rest of the report has no information filled out at all. And again, this happened 3 months ago. This happened back in March, and we're still getting nothing from the Louisville Police Department of any type of adequate response to Breonna Taylor being murdered by these 3 killer cops. It's fucked up, man. It's totally fucked up. Looks like the mayor's calling him out. Yep, March 13th. 3 plainclothes officers used a no-knock search warrant signed by Circuit Judge Mary Shaw to enter her home as part of a narcotics investigation. And again, Jesus fucking Christ. Really? This is the level of response that police are using for a narcotics investigation. It's fucking ridiculous. Decriminalize all drugs, treat it from a public health and harm reduction perspective. People should have the right, supposedly free country, to put in their bodies what they want as long as they're not harming other people, giving it to kids, that type of thing. It's ridiculous. Several neighbors, officers say they announced their presence, but Taylor's boyfriend, which we just listened to, Kenneth Walker, several neighbors say they did not. Walker said he thought intruders were trying to break in and fired a warning shot that struck Mattingly in the leg. Mattingly, Hankinson, and Cosgrove are administrative reassignment pending the investigation. The detective requested the warrant. Joshua James has also been reassigned, LMPD announced Wednesday. This document is proof that the LMPD continues to make a mockery of transparency, said John Fleischer, counsel for the Courier-Journal, one of the principal authors of the state's open records law that requires the release of public documents in all but extremely rare circumstances. And so it looks like this paper is suing to get the shooting information, which is awesome. I mean, it just shows that they're trying to hide something if they're so reluctant, of the Louisville Police Department that is so reluctant to share anything about this investigation. I mean, you got something to hide, obviously, if you're not willing to, divulge what happened, what took place. It's messed up. It's messed up. And then, people on Twitter obviously very, still upset about this huge, massive miscarriage of justice. Kimberly Crenshaw, amazing activist and scholar, Breonna Taylor's been dead for 3 months. Her killers are still free. Someone said, stop sharing saddest pictures of Breonna Taylor. So her life was snuffed out when she was murdered by those 3 killer cops, and they're still walking the streets, free as a fucking bird, while she's dead. It's sick. It's disgusting. Unfortunately, it's not surprising given the nature of the police state that we live in and the almost full, complete immunity that cops have to go out and murder unarmed, peaceful people who committed a crime on basically a daily basis. And even if they did commit crimes, they end up getting, murdered unjustly as well. Fucking A, man, it's sick. This ain't not a fuckboys. I like that. So fucked up. So fucked up. I think as soon as I get off the phone here, or the video here, I'm going to call this number. Call Mayor Gregg, Attorney General. It's fucked, man. It's so fucked. So disgusting. Yeah, because I think she was EMT or something like that. She was 26. Let's see what this is. EMT and ER tech who worked at 2 hospitals. Lived with her boyfriend. Whole plan of becoming a nurse and buying a house and starting a family. Breonna had her head on straight. She was a very decent person. At the time of her death, she was 26 years old. And here's a breakdown of what it was. Police wore plain clothes, no uniforms, no badges, no body cameras. Look at this shit. Police were at the apartment and searched for, 2 drug offenders who were already in custody at the time. The officers claimed they did not know who the offenders were, that the offenders were already in custody. According to police, they announced themselves. Walker and witnesses in surrounding apartments say they did not announce themselves. Cops fired over 20 gunshots into the apartments. Lucky both of them weren't murdered, honestly. State's Attorney General. So that looks like that's who we need to be putting pressure on at this point. But it looks like the DA, who would be the chief prosecutor in this case, Wine has recused his office from prosecuting Breonna Taylor's murderers and requested a special investigation. 2016, the National Bar Association, the NAACP, joined a lawsuit against Wine, saying he intentionally made juries all white. Juries majority white. And this, one of the officers sued for excessive force in 2016 after shooting a man 7 times. Costco thought he recognized the man's car from a drunk driving incident. Jesus Christ, dude. Jesus fucking Christ. Brett Hankinson is accused of sexual assault by 2 women. One of them mostly clean record, accused of acquitted, searching a suspect for probable cause. I mean, Jesus. It's so sickening and disturbing and disgusting that those 3 killer cops are out there free as a bird while Breonna Taylor was murdered 3 months ago. So messed up. So as soon as I'm done making this video, I'm going to call these numbers and advocate that these cops be charged because they murdered her. There needs to be justice, or this kind of shit will keep happening. It's going to keep happening to Black people, communities of color, and other marginalized groups if these killer cops aren't held accountable. Again, we need to defund the police, invest in programs of social uplift. There's no reform. More training, education ain't going to stop this shit from happening. Need to get rid of them. Peace. Much love. Rest in peace, Breonna.